because now things are going to get kind of spicy.
Let me
What better way
respond.
to prove all these evil detractors wrong? I've got a polygraph set up and a chair, right? It goes in a briefcase. I could take it on a plane. I could be at your house in a couple of days.
How's it going, guys? Last night, something insane happened. I was scrolling YouTube and I saw Steve Cambion was interviewing DSP, and it went so bad. DSP guys got absolutely cooked. If you thought the side scrollers interview was bad, that was a softball. I don't think DSP knew who Steve was. Steve is a serious investigator who goes after real grifters, people who pretend to have alien encounters and use that to grift off the public, and it gets pretty bad. You wouldn't believe the links that it goes to. At the beginning, Steve did it right. He asked DSP a few softball questions and DSP was loving it. He was using the new lessons Kino Casino taught him, and he thought it was going to be easy, but no, not at all. For a long time, DSP was able to seclude himself and ignore all of his criticism, and he could just lie, and he faced no real backlash. Because honestly, if a viewer got upset, he didn't really care to ban him. I mean, it wasn't too much of a loss for him, except some of the tippers. For the most part though, he would just boot them, and they're a detractor now. That's all there was to it. But Steve is finally able to put DSP in a spot he's never been in, and destroys every single one of his lies. It starts off with the softball questions, but I promise you guys, by the end, DSP is absolutely shook. I've never seen him in such a state of despair. It's a sight to see. Make sure you stay to the end on this one.
I've done all the research into you, but I want to hear from you. So you start off as a competitive gamer, mostly Street Fighter, right? And you went all over the country competing with all the best players, right?
That's right. I grew up a fan of video games. I was actually introduced to video games by my uncle at a very young age. He was actually playing like a flight simulator on his computer in the 1980s when I was just visiting his house.
But after that, you sort of, I hate to rush, but we got so much to get through. So after that, you figured out that you could just broadcast yourself, before anybody was doing this, really, you figured out that you could just broadcast yourself playing games. You just put a webcam on a TV and just played like that, right?
Not even that sophisticated. It was actually a super old digital camera that I had from like the early 2000s. It didn't even do HD. It was like a 480p camera, only did a small 4:3 aspect ratio. So I had to actually angle it to fit my widescreen TV into the shot because it wasn't the proper aspect ratio. So I'm looking at this, and see, I had been into competitive Street Fighter, but I got a really bad lower back injury. I had a severely herniated disc, so I couldn't travel anymore to play Street Fighter. And I was like, I want to get back into games, but I see guys like the AVGN, and I'm like, I wonder if I could do something more than just playing for myself. So one day, just on a whim, I just set up a tripod. I put this old ass camera in front of the TV. I started recording and just basically just saying whatever came to my mind. And it's a teen audience, especially back then on YouTube. It's a bunch of teenagers.
Yeah.
So what do they want to hear? They want to hear swearing constantly, similar to what the AVGN would do. They want to hear comments. They want to hear you talk shit to the people you're playing in video games and stuff like that.
Oh, come on, Phil. Is this your excuse for saying a lot of wacky shit back then?
Oh,
because you still get crap. People find clips that are 15 years old of you saying something like about a girl or like.
Back then, there was absolutely nothing.
It was a Wild West.
A Wild West. There was no cancel culture. It was just like, say whatever you want and see what happens. And that's exactly how I treated it.
When it comes to DSP's back, I'm pretty sure that has been outed as a lie. DSP likes to dry beg a whole lot, if he's just not outright begging. And that's a pretty good dry beg right there. You stand up, oh goodness, guys, I might need some Advil, just a couple bucks here and there. All it takes is a $2 donation to get DSP, the illustrious DSP, to shout out your name. Isn't that what we all want? But the funny part is, DSP's back has been brought up all the way since his Street Fighter days. You heard him here. He was like, well, I couldn't really go to tournaments. I couldn't drive myself to them because, I had back problems. And a lot of people think that DSP was just far too lazy to drive himself all the way to tournaments. So he would just have John Rambo feel sorry for him, come pick him up, and then take him there. One tournament, DSP asked a whole bunch of people, like, hey, I really need to get to this tournament, but I can't drive there. Someone's got to take me, please. Please take me to this tournament. But this was around the time DSP was starting to not be liked so much by the entire fighting game community. So nobody was willing to take DSP there. So What happened? Well, DSP still got there. He drove himself, but it just goes to show that, you know, DSP might be milking this just a little bit, just a tad bit, guys. And I've got to mention that I'm so glad Steve called DSP out when he said that, you know, this was just the way the times were when he was talking about how he talked back in his old videos. But DSP has admitted himself now that he would just get incredibly drunk every single day and just blurt out nonsense basically as he was playing games. If you go back, I mean, I wouldn't advise it. Why would you do that to yourself? But if you go back and watch all of the old DSP videos, the dude was hammered in basically every single one of them. Do you really think he woke up the next morning, uploaded like 20 or 30 videos and remembered what he said? No, the dude was just off the cuff every single night. But now, since he wants to look good in front of Steve's audience, a completely different niche that could open some eyes to him, just in case if they go look at his history or the thousands and thousands of detractor videos, maybe they'll watch this one. He's like, listen, Steve, this was all my plan. Absolutely all of it. That's what the people wanted to hear. But if you've ever listened to DSP's commentary, one thing he's not very good at is being confrontational. Every time someone confronts him, he just immediately backs down, as you're going to see later in this video. And when it comes to him talking about girls, I really hope he didn't do that. Could you imagine 20-some-year-old DSP's Riz?
I got partnered with a company called Machinima. They started slapping ads on all my videos. I started making money.
That didn't end well, though, did it?
Not much ends well for me, as you know, if you followed my history.
Yeah, you have this, but dude, it's peaks and valleys, right? A lot of the questions I'm going to be asking are coming from viewers, not me. So don't get pissed at me, Dark Side Phil.
No, it's your show. I'm going to hold you personally accountable for everything that happens here tonight.
A lot of people have said to me things like, "This guy has made millions of dollars. Where did it all go?" And I guess especially, you know, in case you're not aware, like I mentioned right before we start broadcast, that you have a degree in finance. So people are kind of, I guess, understandably going like, this guy has a degree in finance. He's made at least $1 million since he started, but yet he always needs money. And that's a big criticism, you know? And by the way, I'm on your side. Like, I have a viewer supported show. I hate asking for money. So I make a joke of it. Like, I get televangelists clips to ask for the money. What happened to the money?
The thing is,
the money, Phil?
when you're a content creator, right, you're under a different eye of scrutiny. It really is true. Like anyone else who has a small business, they can make money, they can spend money however they want, but it's all kind of behind closed doors and no one really cares. But
It's
when
not
you're
public. Yeah.
But when you're someone who puts yourself in front of the public every day, all of a sudden people start to say, well, it's funny because we know that he did really good, but why does he say he needs more? If he made so and so amount, then why is he doing an event where he needs to raise money and yada, yada, yada. So in 2017, I became a full-time live streamer. And then, you know, ad revenue had to go, not really be my source of income anymore. I had to start asking the audience for contributions. That was a huge change for me, a big change. You know, I tried my best for many years to try to maintain, but it got so bad. What it really was, as you had mentioned, it was the credit card debt. Because with those credit cards, even when you're paying minimum payments, they're not going down, and it got so unmanageable. And then on top of that, I basically got to the point where I couldn't even pay that mortgage in Connecticut anymore. And I'm like, what am I going to do? If I stop paying, they're going to foreclose. So I had to go through a bankruptcy. And that's really where the turnaround was. Once I went through that and got all that revolving debt gone and that extra mortgage gone.
Well, you know, this is Phil. This is a source of a lot of the criticism about you is your financial choices. I had a job in corporate finance where I had to look at people's information like this all the time because I was a credit analyst, and so I kind of know probably what happened here. But you're people that are very critical of you. You know, they say things like, I got a lot of messages like this, like, he spent $131,000 in unsecured credit. Like, what did he buy? That's like a house almost. Do you know what all this 131,000 comprised of? Or
it all started when when I moved out here, it was furnishing the house, buying all my new equipment, all of that. So you're talking, you know, tens of thousands of dollars.
You screw up on that, Mr. Finance Major?
I screwed up on so much. I did. Like, first of all, I was basically living on credit that I had gotten when I was a popular YouTuber and was making way more. So
So
I had
your
all these.
credit was based on a higher income that you had then lost.
Exactly. So
I
here
mean,
I
that's
am
fair.
sitting with all this credit that I can use. And I'm like, oh, maybe my channel will come back. Maybe things will turn for the better. Maybe I'll be able to sell the condo in Connecticut eventually. Things will turn around. And I'm just kind of like, I hope, I hope, I hope. Well, you can't live on hope. You got to live on reality, right? But that was me being stupid and being ignorant and being dumb and making bad choices after bad choice after bad choice. So, you start off with, let's say, 20, 30,000 of credit card debt, but then all of a sudden, it's going up because you got fees, because you got the interest, and I'm not, I'm making minimum payments, juggling everything. Then you stop paying things.
This is where the interview starts to go south for DSP. He doesn't realize it yet, so he's still jokey. He thinks this is going to go the exact same way the Keno Casino one did, where he would make mistakes and slip up during it, but they're going to hold his hand because they want to make a point that DSP is better than Review Tech USA, just for the meme. That's like the entire reason they did it. And now that Review Tech USA is an absolute lolcow, even lower than DSP, they have no real reason to protect him anymore. That's the real reason this is happening. But is DSP gonna fault his new friends? No, because they're the only people who actually talk to him. It doesn't matter how many times they mess with him on the down low. Oh, they're still his best buddies. And DSP starts lying so hard when he's like, and when it comes to small businesses, you guys just aren't under the same level of scrutiny as us content makers are. I mean, everyone wants to know how much money we're making. It's absolutely insane. And that's such a 2010 mindset. The only reason people focus on DSP's wallet is because DSP makes it such a big factor of his content every single day. Every single day, the dude's asking his audience like 50, 60, 70 times for them to donate. Don't do super chats most of the time because he needs it tomorrow, because DSP needs to eat, guys. What do you want his wife to do? Cook? She doesn't need to do that. She's got to go to Curls and Twirls. She's got other places to go, better places to be than hanging out with DSP. She's not going to do that for him. He's got a DoorDash, the only option he's really got.
So I had to go through with the bankruptcy. It was like the only way out, really. I was trying for years to avoid it, and then I was basically at my breaking point.
Well, yeah, when you realize you have 130,000 in unsecured credit cards, it's going to take you 27 years to pay it back or whatever.
Right.
One of the big criticisms about you is you're constantly asking for support, constantly asking for money, and I don't know. I've been observing some of this, so I wanted to ask you: have you ever been diagnosed with being on the spectrum or having?
When I was growing up, that stuff, no one ever talked about any of that stuff at all. I doubt that a single doctor would have ever even like done a test or measured anything like that when I was growing up, unless you were like showing overt signs outward of stuff like that. No one ever talked about that stuff. You know what I mean? Who knows? Maybe there is and maybe there isn't. I wouldn't know.
Well, I think and I could be wrong. I mean, I'm just an observer here, an outsider looking in. But it seems to me that you have a little bit of trouble, like comprehending social norms. Like, for example, like, do you have a perception of like how many times during an average stream that you ask for support or money? Because that's one of the big criticisms too. Like,
do I count? No, I do not, because it's
can it take a guess?
It's directly proportionate to how much support I got during that stream. You know what I mean?
All right. So if you don't get support, you ask for it more. That's what you're saying.
Ask and you shall receive.
Did you know there's a whole YouTube channel dedicated just to counting the number of times that you ask for money in a stream?
Absolutely. There's entire like networks programs written to count the amount of times I say a single word in all of my content ever on YouTube.
And there's did you know there's an entire search engine called Pig Go?
Yeah, exactly.
Where you could search by keyword, but
that's right.
Listen, I'm trying to help you here. I really am, because I understand why people are like, saying this stuff. When you were playing Dark Souls, you asked for money 62 times. When you were playing Light Razzing, I don't know, he makes plays on words on the games you were playing. You asked for money 85 times. Mm-hmm. You tested a mic, and then you begged for money 31 times while testing the mic. And this one is just greed mode, beg count 58. Successful streamer begged 78 times. And I'm not going to play these videos because they're very disparaging. They like make you have a huge head and try to make it funny. Popeyes felt it, beg count 100. So to eat Popeyes, you begged for money 100 times. Flight Simulator, you begged for money 111 times. But I'm just wondering, like, do you realize that you ask for money that many times in one stream?
Well, first off, I've never watched any of this content to make it clear. I don't actually know how truthful that is. I'm
I
certainly
went through
not
it with a
saying
counter, Phil. He's right. I mean, unless he's like AI, he's got like CIA level AI to make these clips of you asking for the
all I'm
money.
saying is I'm answering this question in perspective of I have no clue if anything that a detractor puts on their channel about me is true or not. All I can ask is from my perspective, right? I haven't seen that content. I can't really respond to it. But no, I mean, I do ask for contributions basically as soon as I start my podcast. And if we're talking about how I did the day before, I'll mention how we did. And I'll say, hey, let's hit the goals today. We have some goals in place. Here's the rewards coming up. If we have a reward that's scheduled, we'll talk about that.
I have to say, Phil, regardless of whether you call them a detractor, they're factually accurate.
Okay, fair enough.
And that's the problem. They're factually accurate. You do
here's the thing. I don't think that's a problem. I think that's a perception. Some people think it's a problem.
Don't you think some of the stuff is cringe, though? Like, for example,
of course it's cringe. It's meant to be cringe.
It's meant to be
over the top and cringe.
Phil,
that's the whole idea.
Was it last night or the night before that you were like, we got to hit this goal because I don't know if I can order Arby's
That's
tonight.
right. We got to get the Arby's the next day. You got to get it. My wife's coming home from work. She doesn't want to cook. Let's get the Arby's.
This is kind of a deflection, though.
Steve was so right when he was like, DSP, you have zero social awareness. If this was a D&D game, Fallout, something like that, DSP rolled a 0 in that category. Absolutely none. You can tell right there, since he couldn't even see that the interview was about to turn south very hard, because who even asked that question? It's super rude. And it also came out of nowhere, but DSP had to really think about it. He's like, well, let me tell you the honest answer here, Steve. I'm gonna say no because it just wasn't looked at back then. I mean, it's entirely possible. And he showed this trait every time he's actually talked to real people, besides the casino, like I mentioned earlier, because of the hand holding they do for him. But when it was at the Side Scroller podcast, DSP would get roasted by Adam. And all he would say is, you know what, Adam? I can see your point there. I disagree with you. I'm gonna lie right to your face, and I'm gonna pretend I'm not lying to you, even though you're calling me out for it. But I do respect your opinion. Now, can you be a little bit nicer to me next time? Thank you. And he goes on to his show the very next day. He's like, Side Scrollers went great, guys. I'm going to go back until they did their next show dunking on DSP. Then he's like, well, wait, those guys aren't my friends. They thought I was weird. This is unbelievable. I'm going to give them a piece of my mind. And he ended up giving Craig a piece of his mind, even though Craig was going to let DSP back into his friend group, which would have been so good for the dude. But at the very end, DSP couldn't contain himself. And he's like, oh, hey, Craig, guess what? F you. And there, DSP ruined another relationship, as he's gonna do here, because, let's be honest guys, DSP could be honest right now. That's the main problem with this dude in his entire career. He lies about small, stupid things. If he would just make a joke out of some of it, but he had to do that a long time ago, DSP wouldn't get near the level of scrutiny. But it's just the small things he says, like, no, I never played WWE champions. I never did anything like that. Even though now he's admitted it, and we all know he spent hundreds of thousands of dollars on WWE champions. But guess what, guys? The Down from the Raptors account, it's not his. He's got a different WWE championship account, and he also plays more of a different game this time as well. You detractors just have it all wrong. You're right, but you're wrong at the same time. And oh my gosh, can you believe DSP asked for money 110 times during a stream? I get it, flight simulators have to be incredibly boring, but are you really sitting there just going, hey guys, give me money. Hey guys, give me money. What are you, Mr. Krabs or something? Bro, the penny pinching is absolutely insane. Like, who cares if your donations are a little bit low each and every stream? We know you're doing all right, Phil. You're not kicked out of your house or anything. You've never showed up with just your phone live streaming your face like, hey guys, you know, power's out, the bills haven't been paid. Do you know how often that happens with other lolcows? Bad things happen to them all the time, but you do incredibly well for yourself. You're spending hundreds of thousands of dollars on a mobile game throughout the years. I mean, yeah, what is that, 20, 30K per year? That is insane numbers. You could buy a car each and every year with your mobile spendings. That is ridiculous. How does it get to that point? And there's no reward there. I just can't understand mobile addiction. It's literally just dumping your money into nothing. We watched Boss Man Jack just a few days ago. If you want, you can go check out that video. But at least at the end of the day, there's some money coming his way. I mean, not a lot because he spends it all, but there's something. DSP gets nothing out of mobile games. And it's other people's money. I mean, technically it's his. He can do what he wants with it as soon as they give it to him. But DSP is asking for it for certain things, and people have expectations when you ask for you to give them money for a certain thing. Could you imagine if your family member was like, hey, can you give me $100 so I can go to the grocery store because I really need it, I'm in a desperate situation, and you do that. And then you come back and then you see they bought like $2 menu hamburgers and the rest is just like a bunch of alcohol or something, you would be furious. You'd probably never give them money again and you might not talk to them again.
Like, what if I was on my show and I said, I'd like to order pizza for my kids because I don't feel like cooking, but I need to get $50 in super chats first.
Okay.
I would never do that because I would think that is so cringy.
Well, that's different. Do you know the context of me actually ordering Arby's? Because it's not me just ordering dinner for my family. That's actually not what it is.
No, then you do the review of 3 sandwiches. Come on.
Right. Yeah, which is an ongoing series I've been doing over a decade.
Because in some of this stuff, it's kind of, like I said, it's cringy, right? Like,
Sure. Purposefully so, yes.
You're saying that you do that on purpose? You make it cringy
absolutely.
on purpose?
It's hammed up. It's hammed up on purpose. Do you really think it's a big deal if I had Arby's on Wednesday or Thursday or Friday? It doesn't matter. It's just you ham it up. You make people get motivated to do it. That way we get it, right? As opposed to if everything's never a big deal and you don't hype anything up, then who's going to have incentive to ever care about it? You know, I'm a crowdfunded individual. You got to hype up these events. We're going to do a DSP Tries It.
So if your position is that you're doing this on purpose to make it cringy and you're laughing about it's a joke, but some people in your live chat really don't know that you're joking and they might think that you won't have...
No.
Phil, you basically say this is great. It's such a grift, but it's grifty. You basically say, like, if I don't get tips, I can't buy groceries, and I may be subjected to have to eat a lunch meat sandwich on my day off. I won't even be able to get takeout food.
And who wants to do that on their day off?
But you're putting that on the audience. You're putting it on the audience.
First off, I'm trying to remember that specific situation because I don't actually remember what the heck that situation was. If you're wondering why I'm saying tips, it's because tips I get immediately, so I could actually spend it on something right away.
This is you asking for support.
Mm-hmm.
And... I don't know. Let's get your reaction.
It would be great if you could support the stream tonight in any way. It's going to be critical that you guys support the content in whatever way that you can. Really, if I don't get support on these streams, it sucks because that means that I'm not making anything on the videos. If you'd like to support my final stream of the week, please do in any way. I will give you a shout out. Last chance, if you'd like to support the stream in any way, I would appreciate it.
Phil, would it really be the end of the world if you had two streams in a row where you didn't hit some goal that you have?
Today, no. Back then, and some of these older clips, because those are clips that are way out of context from like during the bankruptcy and stuff. Yeah, it actually would have because I was living paycheck to paycheck. Sometimes I was living stream to stream. The way that I ask is it a different way? Allow me to explain. Back then, as you saw in the older clips where you noticed the webcam's fuzzy, the quality shit.
Oh, let's see.
That was when I was
There's some later clips in here too, though.
Yeah,
more recent.
I don't want it to be like that anymore. All right, that's why I'm not gonna put Vest Streak down here on the leaderboard. And we're going to start counting. We're not going to do that. Ladies and gentlemen, yes, I've once again, for the 4th straight stream, 4 in a row, I received a $150 tip.
You really think that it's a benefit for your audience to see you put on a vest or put on a hat or eat a sandwich? Like, that's what you're rewarding them with? I don't get it. By the way, I'm an outsider looking in. Maybe that's normal in your world.
Well, did you know that I don't do that stuff anymore? Not the sandwich, because we've already talked about DSP Tries It. Are you aware those goals don't exist anymore? They were phased out?
Phil, on Smart Show this week, you made people give you money so that you could eat snacks.
There is a distinct difference because what you'll notice, by the way, I don't know if you know we're tiny. I don't know if you know that.
But here, I'll fix it.
There's a distinct difference between years ago when I was actually financially distraught, legitimately financially distraught. Okay. And I'm on my stream and I'm saying, please support the stream today. I literally need tips. I even said things like, don't send me super chats. Don't become a member.
I've
I
seen
need
those.
tips
Yeah.
today because I need the money for tomorrow to do something with it. Right. Instead of saying it's a negative unless you support, you say, if you support me enough, I'll give you a positive. That's a different kind of reinforcement that I'm learning and I've instituted in my content. So
groceries, mortgage, day off.
That's fine.
You can't ask for money for your day off either. You can't ask for money for your day off because that's a little cringe, Phil.
So Phil says his mobile addiction isn't that bad anymore. In fact, it was far worse back in the day, and I can only imagine that it would have been around the time he was going through bankruptcy or the lead up to it, and since Phil was probably stressing a little bit and this seems to be his out besides drinking tons of gin, he was probably doing a little bit of mobile gaming. And he claims that he had a far worse addiction to Dragon Ball Z Dokkan Battle. I'm pretty sure that's what the game's called, and WWE Supercard. If he was living paycheck to paycheck during that time, or as he says, stream to stream, he was definitely begging a little more than he should, probably a whole lot more than he should, because he was getting so much money around then, guys. People were spending thousands of dollars donating to this guy. He had someone spend like $2,000 to reveal his cat, and I'm probably lowballing that number. I'm pretty sure I am. He was getting so much around this time, and shortly after that, the vest streak started up where he was getting $150 every single time he went live. And DSP goes live 2 times a day, so that means he was getting $300 in tips every single day, on top of subscriptions, on top of bits. DSP has never had a money problem, except probably towards the beginning of his bankruptcy and towards the end of it. Also, it can't go unmentioned that Phil knows what he's doing when it comes to his audience. He's playing them for a fool each and every time he goes live. When he says, hey guys, I need to get food today, I need money for groceries, or I need to get some fast food to feed my wife, he knows that puts his donators in a position where they need to donate now, not tomorrow like they may have planned. They've got to do it right now. And his excuse that he's just hamming it up, they know it's a joke. Well, if you're going to ham it up and provide benefits for your audience, when you have something that, I don't know, benefits them a little bit, like some multiplayer streams with them or something like that, instead of, yeah, I just need some groceries tomorrow to eat, guys, and maybe I'll do a DSP tries it if you vote enough. I am a little hungry right now, and we'll think about it.
Because now things are going to get kind of spicy. So I have one post-it note here. Can anybody read what that says? It says polygraph test. It says polygraph test. I don't know if you know this. Ashton from Kino knows it, and Andy Worski know it, but I have a polygraph machine, and I'm basically certified polygrapher. So for the rest of tonight's broadcast, I'm going to ask you to answer all the questions truthfully. And then after the show, I'd be willing to come to you and administer a polygraph to make sure you're answering the following questions from here on in truthfully. And failing that, I happen to find a retired FBI polygrapher that lives right in your area, and he's kind of friendly with me. He's done a job for my show before. He's in Seattle, so he could just easily drive to where you are and administer the polygraph either at your house or at a hotel. We'll put you on a polygraph and ask you that question again and verify that you've been telling the truth this entire time and you haven't lied about that.
Mm-hmm.
I think this is a great idea. And if you don't agree to this, it doesn't look good for you.
My viewers, my supporters, the people who actually like me, who are on my streams every day, who watch my content, who support me via all these contributions, right? Don't give 2 flaming shits about anything that my detractors have issue with me. They don't. They know all about all the controversies. They've heard my answers. They're happy with them. Do you understand? They don't give a shit. In fact, if I bring it up on my streams, they get upset. Why are you bringing that up? You know we don't care.
People that are in your corner would say, like, look, he passed a polygraph. Those bank leaks weren't his spending. This isn't an issue anymore.
The people that are in my corner and don't care. Like I said, they literally don't want to talk about this shit ever again. They're done with it. This stuff is the bankruptcy stuff is 5 years in the past. Listen, you want to talk about criticize me and how I asked for contributions today? Fine. I will accept that. Sure. But we're talking about stuff that's done. That's been rehashed, done. It's done with. The reason my detractors keep bringing it up is because it makes them money.
Very honest with you, Phil. I don't think that you'll pass either polygraph, and that's why you won't take it.
That's fine.
I don't think you could pass a polygraph
Hold on now. Hold on.
Based on the evidence that I found, and we're gonna show it to the
Did
audience tonight.
Did I say no yet?
You can't. Well, let's go.
Did I say no yet?
Make the decision.
I'm explaining to you.
Shit or get off the pot. There's a road to redemption right here.
They're coming to my streams every day to enjoy games and to hang out. They don't care about any
Don't
of
you
this
think that your
shit
supporters would like knowing that you didn't blow thousands of dollars on a mobile game?
I already told them
they were giving you money the whole time. You don't think they would benefit from that?
I've already fessed up that I did. I already cleared all that up. It's already happened.
Well, I guess in fairness, you may be right.
You really think that I want people contacting my
tax
attorney?
I just want to show you this because I have a lawyer. I have a lawyer in my family. So he's written a non-disclosure agreement between you and I, which basically stipulates that if whatever records you show with me, I'm only going to use to confirm or deny if you're telling the truth about all of this.
Okay, but what's the point?
The point is to prove that you've been telling the truth, because I don't think you have been about the bank leaks specifically.
And I don't care if you believe me or not. It doesn't affect me in any way, shape, or form.
All right.
Does it?
So you don't care?
No, I don't. I don't care. I don't. I really don't. Like, I'm a content creator who sits down and makes gaming content, streams, chill content for his audience.
DSP got so shook when Steve brought up the polygraph test. If he would have just did a little bit of research, the bane of Phil's existence, research, or just putting a little bit of effort into anything, he would have realized that Steve, he deals with these alien grifters who he has to polygraph test all of the time, who unfortunately always come up lying. It's such a shame that these alien grifters, something that we'd all like to believe in, extraterrestrials or something like that, are all these terrible people who claim they've had these experiences just to get money off of people they find lesser than them. And it just so happens that Phil does the exact same thing, except he just plays video games on stream. But also, let's be honest here, guys, if Phil would have just took this advice and said, you know what, I am going to get a polygraph test because this could prove everything wrong. Could you imagine if Phil had like a 25-year expert on a polygraph test come to his house and he was just telling the truth about everything? What could people really say about him then? Anyone who wants to be on Phil's side from there on out could just point to it and say, well guys, you're being ridiculous at this point because a professional came over and proved you all wrong. And Phil would have so many more opportunities, more than he has right now. Let's face it, Phil has had a lot of opportunity here recently. That's the whole reason he's doing Steve's podcast at the moment, because he felt safe. He felt like the top dog in the game for the moment. It doesn't take much for Phil to get an ego. But back to the polygraph test, I mean, Phil just blatantly says to it, you know what, Steve, I don't care about it. You know, my fans don't care about it. His fans would be so hyped if they could just rub it in everyone's face like, look, we was the right ones. DSP's actually a good guy. You guys all just suck. You hate on people for no reason. And then there would be tons of people coming to DSP streams, sending him donations, tons of them. You guys know it would happen like, oh, look, Phil, you was right. I hate to say it, but you was right. But he can't do that. He knows if someone came over there and put a polygraph test on him, they would prove all the detractors right. Everything he says is a lie. That's basically Phil's entire existence. And right now, after this interview, Phil is having it rough right now. He is jumping in circles every time someone asks him about it. I mean, his own fans are asking him about this interview. And what does Phil say? Oh, they don't care about it. Maybe you underestimated your fans just a little bit, Phil. You know, they do have a brain and can think for themselves. And you having the grand opportunity to prove all of your trolls wrong and not taking it looks really, really bad.
I don't think that you're being honest with your viewers or the world in general about these bank leaks based on the information that I found in my investigation in these past couple of weeks.
The entire thing, bank leak stuff, is fake. There was no bank leaks that ever happened to me. That whole thing was fabricated by my detractors. I don't even know what information they got or who they got it from, but it wasn't me. Can you show them on stream? Can you prove that those are real?
And just so you're aware, Phil, I did analyze them. And I can show them on stream right now and prove that they're real. I don't believe that you've been honest about the bank leaks. I think you lied about a lot of that. You don't want your detractors to know how much you've been spending on gin and wine and DoorDash and a WWE game.
Why would it matter?
Or let's get to the bank leaks, especially.
Why?
You say they're fake.
Hold
But
on. Why
Phil,
would it
in
matter?
order for them to be fake, the person that faked them would have to know what kind of car you drive, who your internet service provider is, who
Okay.
your electric company was, who your
Okay.
garbage company was,
Okay.
what their monthly charge was at the time of the bank leaks for people living in your area at the time of those leaks. They'd have to know what restaurants you eat at and when you ate at them. They'd have to know when and where your wife gets haircuts. They'd have to know what your local water company was and what you pay them every month. They'd have to know when you go to Burger King. The odds of somebody knowing all that information, it's like it would take a 007 CIA operative to fake these. You say I went to Burger King and the Burger King charge is there on that day or the day before. You say I'm getting a haircut. 8 times somebody caught you saying you're getting a haircut, and those haircuts are on the bank leaks. And do you understand that the person that did that is a retired police officer? Come on, what are we going to do here?
So are you done now, or do you have more to say about the bank leaks? I'll respond to all of it when you're done.
Well, the reason that people are so upset, you could see in these charts, it shows that you spent more on transactions most month than your mortgage payment while you're begging your audience for money for your bills.
That wasn't my question. My question is, are you done talking about the bank leaks so that I can respond and we can move on?
No, yeah, I can show you more evidence. I could show you more evidence. Curls and twirls. Is that your wife, Phil?
No.
On the website, you're going to say that's not her? Do I got to get a
so.
facial recognition expert to show that's her?
I don't think that's her.
Where to get your haircut, Phil? Where to get your haircut?
I'm not going to tell you because then people are going to
harass where I go. You can't tell me because you get your haircut at Curls and Twirls.
I think you got me on something. It's all good. And I'm actually
I got you, Phil. I got you. I haven't even started on these bank leaks. There's a mountain of evidence that it's you.
Steve, I want you to understand something. All right. At the end of the day, when we're done here, I'm not going to be upset with you at all. I want you to understand that. Okay. I can't say where I get my hair cut because if I tell you, they will the person who cuts my hair. Do you understand that? They'll find them. They'll still their public information.
All right. So can you show me the receipts to where you get your hair cut during the bank leaks period that wasn't Curls and Twirls then privately?
Steve.
Okay. That's the problem. Your detractors have receipts. You don't have any receipts, Phil. You have excuses and lies and obfuscation. You're trying to keep the grift going. I get it.
That is so amazing. What a way to get outed. The fact that DSP and his wife go to this barbershop and the barbershop just so happened to take a picture of Kat, DSP's wife, and put a picture of her on their website. And that's what basically outs Phil for all of his bank leaks. That is absolutely insane. The coincidences there. And Phil is still going to try to deny it all. Like, it's all true at this point, everybody. Steve has basically broken every one of Phil's lies. How is he going to lie about this? Everything lines up at this point. How are you going to spend more on Apple charges than you are your mortgage? And your total wine bills equal more than your bills every single month. And let's not even mention the DoorDashes that you're getting. Phil is pretending to be poor so that people will give him money. And he's just living a lavish life. His lavish, lazy life that he loves. When Phil says, I used to drink a lot and I didn't care about people at all, do you really think Phil has changed one bit? I don't personally. I know a majority of the detractors don't either. When Phil gets off camera, he hates every single one of his viewers and he's just chugging gin, playing mobile games and laughing at the people who gave him so much money and have believed his lies for so many years. That's why Phil is one of the worst lolcows out there. He's a really boring person most of the time. When things like this come out, it just proves that DSP is a lolcow, and not only a lolcow, one of the worst who actually has fans and manipulates every single one of them. Phil would do decent on live streams every single day because at this point his fans are conditioned to give him a lot of money, so it'd probably continue so he doesn't have to beg like this.
I'm trying to do you a solid with this appearance. I really am. I'm hoping that you're going to get a nice boost of attention on your content because of this. I do. You're going to have an issue having future guests come on your show if you yell at people like this. You understand?
Like, I'm not yelling at you. I'm not yelling at you.
Oh, you absolutely have been yelling at me. And I'm not, just so you know, I'm not upset. All right. But you are very agitated.
Oh, well, then I apologize. I get agitated when people talk circles and they don't answer the questions.
Okay.
And make excuses. You're making excuses. You're not answering the question. I'll let you answer, but let's go. I got more to show you.
And you can confirm it.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
How?
because of the correlations between things you mentioned on your show.
No.
And
That's not what I'm asking.
Charges.
That's
and
not
the
what I'm
charges.
asking. That's not what I've asked at all. I'm not
Phil,
asking you if you think that could be my information. I'm saying, can you confirm that call?
Well, not 100%, but the preponderance of the evidence can confirm.
There you go. You can't confirm it's real.
That's fair enough. Here you are crying about Burger King.
No, we're not done yet.
Here you are crying about Burger King, and there's a Burger King charge at the same time on the bank leaks. Is that a coincidence?
I'm trying to answer you, and you're already moving on and talking over me. Do you understand why you're going to have a hard time getting guests moving forward if you act like that?
I don't have a hard time getting guests.
What you're implying here is that I'm like some kind of a degenerate gambler who like would say, I need the money, and then I would go bet
a lot of people are addicted to
saying?
games. It's not something to be ashamed of.
I know. Steve, I've talked about this, about my past, that actually before this WWE Champions thing, I was actually way more addicted to a different game called WWE Supercard and Dragon Ball Z Dokkan Battle. That those two, I was actually spending way more on than I ever spent on WWE Champions. Okay, so I know all about the addictive nature of overspending and all of that, and I have publicly admitted I've done it.
You're telling people you don't have money to buy food, and you spent 40 grand on a mobile game. That matters. It goes directly to your integrity.
What are you talking about? You literally, so here's the problem. You are completely extrapolating the situation. You're acting like on one stream I said I need money for groceries, and then immediately I took all that money and spent it on a mobile game. That never happened. Never. If I asked for money for something, I spent it on what I needed it for, and then maybe I spent money on other stuff as well. That has nothing to do with, he blew it all on the mobile game. That's why he needed more money. No, that's ridiculous.
Out of 8 times, they accurately guessed when you were getting a haircut and put it on those bank leaks. And they made the fake recording of the teller talking about the haircuts.
Yes, not yes, but they already know because they talk about it publicly on every stream. You're just throwing insane amounts of stuff out here, right?
It's called evidence. You don't have any. We have lots to get through. But that's the problem.
Steve, listen to me. Please listen to me. All you're doing is throwing things, right? I try to respond, and as I'm responding, you move on to something else.
You haven't adequately explained the correlations. Yeah, you're right. But you lied about when you said that you talked to them previously and they said they would only investigate you. You lied about that. Our retired law enforcement officer friend here, he's here. And
wait a minute. That's not what are you talking about?
He spoke to the detective that you talked to. You said in the Side Scrollers interview that sometime prior to the bank leaks, you didn't file a police report. By the way, your bank would have. Did you know? My wife, I mentioned she was an accountant. Do you know what she did? She worked in the fraud department at Beneficial Savings Bank for 20 years. And she told me that you, Phil, said that these people got access to multiple of your accounts. The bank itself is required by federal law and banking regulations to file a police report.
I ain't gonna lie, I'm getting cooked.
So hold on a second. So you're saying that I'm lying completely about the bank account? Like I still have this bank account, it's real, and it's still open, and
honestly, Phil, I'm losing track of your lies. I don't know what you've lied about because you lie about a lot of stuff.
You're bringing up 10 points, and every time I try to address one, you move on to another, so I can't address any of your points.
So I think you never reported any of this to your bank. You just got a new bank account and moved on. That's what I believe.
So you're saying I manually closed the bank account.
I don't know what happened. I know that if you would have reported fraud to your bank, they were required by federal banking regulations and federal law to fill out police reports.
I don't care about any of this.
Right. So,
but Phil, listen to me, please, guys, both of you. I want you to understand something.
Sure.
So many people on the internet have said so many negative things about me over the years. It doesn't matter what's true or not. It doesn't matter what I can prove or disprove. It will never make me look better. Do you understand?
It's so funny that Phil tries to weasel his way out of this by being like, listen, Steve, I just want you to know something. You are never going to get another guest in your entire life. Just look at the way you're treating me. If you actually get someone else to come on your stream, they're gonna know you're gonna treat them like this. But it's like, no, Phil, you're one of the very few people in the world who would get an interview like this. People want to know what's been going on because you've been lying about it for so long. So it's not a super big mystery onto why Steve did this. He dislikes people who lie to their fans and scam people for money, and that's exactly what you do. The other people who's going to be coming onto a show are going to be treated with a lot more respect unless they do the same stuff that you do. And did you guys notice the way DSP acted in the beginning of this interview compared to how he's acting towards the end? In the beginning, everything was a joke. Yeah, we joke all the time now on my channel. I'm just like, hey, I need some food. Please give me money, and they do. Everyone gets a good laugh out of it, Steve, and we move on. And that's how he was trying to conduct the interview. Like, you got it, Steve. You know exactly what's going on. You're a content creator too. You beg for money 110 times per stream like all of us do. You get it. And now towards the end, this is the exact way DSP talked a long time ago before he met Kino Casino, around the time he went into the first Side Scrollers interview. Everything's so secretive, and when someone's telling me, hey, you can't confirm if it's true, so that means it's false. You're the person who knows the answer to these questions. It's either true or it's not true. And when you don't give a solid answer and you're relying on the fact that no one has solid evidence, I'm gonna assume that you're guilty. This isn't the court of law. This is the court of opinion. Sometimes you can be not 100% guilty and you can get off in the court, and you could have still committed that action. But in the court of opinion, when most people think you did something, well, they're not gonna let you off so easy, Phil, and that's exactly where you're at. Alright, I guess that's enough for me today, guys, but I want to mention real quick, shout out to Only Ice Pepsi. You guys should definitely go over to his channel and check out the live stream that he did last night, because one of DSP's old detractors got exposed super hard. I'm not going to spoil anything for you guys, but you definitely need to go check that out. And make sure to check out the Barnyard tomorrow on the Leaping Lemurs channel, featuring myself and my co-host, the Leaping Lemur, where we're going to be covering the Ravens-Dolphin incident. It is one of the craziest things to happen all year. I know the year hasn't been going on very long, but February has been a crazy month, and you guys have got to check it out tomorrow. But besides all that, if you enjoyed the video, make sure to drop a like, subscribe, and follow the socials down below, and I'll catch you guys next time. Oh, and shout out to Steve Cambion.